Phillies are up 6-1, top of the ninth, looking to close out against the Cubs in this holiday week schedule. Welcome into PHLY Phillies podcast. We've got Tyler, Zulli, myself, Renee Washington. John Foley is going to be joining us in a moment. We also have Jamie Lynch is out in Chicago, having some fun, enjoying the games.
Living his best life.
Here. Living his best life with him and his wife out on a nice trip to watch the game and games, I should say, in Chicago. And Tyler, so far tonight's been a smooth game, honestly. Yeah. There's not much to even talk about or complain about. I've been enjoying the way the Phillies have been playing. We'll talk more specifics about the breakdown of numbers, but Michael Mercado's been great. Trea Turner's been fantastic, 4 RBIs on the night. We've had some, contributions here and there from Yoro and different guys, and Nick making some good plays. So it's a solid team win so far, and another game one that the Phillies start off sharp.
Yeah, type of cruise-controlled game that you were kind of looking for, especially after a series that was a little bit weird against the Marlins where you split. And the funny thing with the Marlins series was they probably should have split. It just really shouldn't have happened. If you were to say which games did they win, just looking at the eye test, they would have won the first game and the third game, and instead they won, it was weird. You know what I mean? They end up winning Sunday. They probably shouldn't win Sunday. So a little bit of a cruise control win today, which is great because Michael Mercado makes his first start. I know we'll get into him in a little bit more in detail throughout tonight and tomorrow. But I thought that he was sharp. I thought that, he nibbled a little bit. There were a couple of times where he was kind of wrapping the plate with his curveball a little bit too much for my liking, but I thought his best pitch tonight was his cutter. And to be quite honest with you, I think he threw 4 bad pitches all game, and he got away with 3 of them. The one was the double that he served up to Cody Bellinger. That was the only run that the Cubs scored tonight. But quite frankly, he was, really sharp. My goal was to get twice through the order, and that's exactly what he did. He threw 5 really strong innings. Bullpen's taking care of everything else the rest of the way. It's been a pretty easy game tonight.
It has been so far. Nice to see a smooth debut for Michael Mercado. Bless you. A smooth debut. We didn't know what to really expect from him, obviously, once we had heard the news that they were going to be looking to bring him in and he was going to get the start following his, game coming out of the bullpen, that he was very composed. He continued that again today so far, which has been really nice. And it's awesome to see how he's, pitching very steady. And there are a lot of young pitchers, especially that in that moment maybe would have gotten a little bit shaken up. The first inning wasn't the smoothest. The second inning, he settled in. Then he gave up that hit in the third, I believe it was, or the fourth. Either way, there were, moments that I kind of was like, uh-oh, how's he gonna respond? How's he gonna handle this? And Michael Mercado showed in his 25 wise years of age that he was able to handle it just well. So great to see him be able to go 5 innings and have a really, again, solid debut, because this is huge for him to be able to have a chance to really start off game one with a solid performance and a chance to get the first one, as we're now into the bottom of the ninth. I know we've got Chris Lummer in the chat, Jimmy Woods. What's up, guys? We always actually start our post-game show early, so you guys get a chance to watch the end of the game with us as we wrap up the ninth inning. We always do it with you, and then we officially get into our post-game show. It is nice as we are into the bottom of the ninth, and we've got Bushes up to bat with Cody Bellinger up next, that we also have a chance to have another, knock on wood, victory post-game show coming your way.
Yeah, and I know people were kind of giving us a little bit of crap for it because there was a stretch where I think the Phillies lost 3 out of 4 post-game shows that we did. But the post-game record this year, much like and probably indicative of the Phillies record, the post-game record for us is actually pretty good. Like you said, you're 3 outs away from adding another tally in the win column. And I think that tonight was because tomorrow is going to be just an elite pitching matchup between Wheeler and Shota Imanaga. Tonight was really important to get because this is kind of a borderline. I don't want to say must win because that makes me feel like I'm being very much thinking too much about 3 games as opposed to 162. But we've talked about it before. Coming up next, the Braves, the Dodgers, then yes, you have Oakland. But to come out of that series after the fact, I believe the Yankees are on their way in a couple of weeks. You've got some really difficult games coming up. So to be able to feel comfortable, winning game one or getting close to winning game one. I know the last 3 outs are still needed to be gotten, but to feel comfortable about the way that today was handled, especially with, if we're being fair, the guy you trusted the least on the mound, and no disrespect to Michael Mercado, but it's a young kid making his first major league start, compared to Zach Wheeler, your Cy Young candidate, and Christopher Sanchez, who has just been as rock steady as they possibly can be. This was one that, was potentially up in the air, and he pitched well. Trea Turner was tremendous. I mean, Trea Turner obliterated that second home run.
Oh, yeah.
The first one he hit hard. The second one, I think he put into orbit. And so far, you're feeling pretty comfortable.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it's a great point that you make, because for Michael Mercado to step into this pitching staff, it's not easy. The pressure's on. The Phillies have been posting some really good numbers out of the bullpen, out of their starting pitchers consistently. It's very rare that we see, and every guy's had their game that they've been rocked a little bit. But overall, this is an elite group. This is the best in baseball in ERA. This is, you're looking across 1 through 4, and every starter, as Sanchi showed us with his complete game shutout, has the ability to make some major plays, games, wins, shut teams out, and to just go deep into ball games as well. And I think that's also a big positive I took from Michael Mercado being able to go 5 innings. It wasn't a situation where after 3 innings you were ready to pull him. He was able to go 5. And honestly, I was fine with them pulling him at 5, but had he needed to go 6 for any reason, felt good about him. I think 5 was a perfect sweet spot for his debut, but it wasn't a situation where he's coming out after 5 and you're like, oh shit, time to pull him. It was still a steady 5 innings for him. So I think he handled the pressure very well. And, there were some other key contributions. That's the thing I love about this group, is the fact that they continuously find ways, even when Bryce Harper goes down, Kyle Schwarber's out, JT Realmuto's out, and here the Phillies are just continuing to roll along. They're going to be 9 games ahead of the Braves once they win tonight. And you also have Trea Turner stepping up, Nick Castellanos, Yoro, different guys every day. Michael Mercado stepping up to help them be able to be the top in baseball in so many ways. So it's been, I love a nice stress-free game like this. This is a beautiful thing because you can just enjoy the game. We don't have to be holding our breaths. We're not growing gray hairs out of this. And we can go into the post-game show knowing they took care of business.
Well, you talked about him potentially being able to pitch into the 6th if necessary. The pitch count was manageable. I believe he was at 77 pitches when they pulled him, and Rob Thompson made a really weird pitch count number today. They said 91, which
so specific.
I don't know what that means. I don't know. I've never heard anybody not give a round number to a pitch count, but they said 91. The broadcast was saying 80 to 90, which made about sense for a guy that hasn't made a true start in almost 2 weeks. But I will say this, you brought up pitching, having the headspace to pitch well, as a young kid heading into a really good rotation. Pair that with the fact that you have the headspace of a young kid heading into a really good rotation, pitching at Wrigley Field, which is not an easy place to pitch. It's menacing. It's daunting, right? It's still Wrigley. I know the Cubs are not playing particularly well right now. I think that they had one of the worst records in baseball in the month of June. They've really struggled in their last 35 games. And they're decimated by injuries, not entirely their fault. But to come into Wrigley and pitch is a difficult place to pitch because if the wind's blowing out, the ball's going to be flying. That it's a difficult place to mentally prepare to pitch because it's Wrigley, right? It's like going into Fenway and pitching into Fenway. Right. It's like, right. So to give 5 strong innings and what I saw from him tonight, like I said, I thought he wrapped the plate a couple of times with the breaking ball, didn't directly go right at hitters a couple of times, but that's expected from a young kid. What I was really impressed with was the poise and his ability to throw the cutter to left-handed hitters. Because when you have a young guy who is willing to throw a pitch that breaks into opposite side hitters and throw it in on the fists like he did and use it as an effective out pitch. I was really, really impressed with the cutter today. I thought the fastball was decent. The curveball, which they say is his best pitch, he didn't use as much as I thought he was going to. But to me, the best pitch tonight was Mercado's cutter.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more. Though one thing I will say is, can we get this game over with? Because 6-4 is not really what I was expecting. Here we are, game's still going on. Come on, Jeff. This is a little bit stressful to say the least, but yeah, I a 3-run homer by Suzuki, and now it's a 6-4 game. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Well, now it's not so
Oh
strange.
Lord,
Granted,
things
we
just got interesting.
we talked about a cruise control game. It's all of a sudden not so much a cruise control game anymore.
No, are we jinxing it? No, no, it's not us.
Well, I'm sitting here on my couch in Bensalem. They're in Chicago, pretty long way away.
Yeah, it's not us. It's totally not us. This just needs to be over with. Yeah, Jeff Hoffman is really Greg, I'm trying to be calm, no outs, 6-4. You just gave up a 3-run home run. Jeff Hoffman, we talked about this though. We were just alluding to this. Everybody's had their day. We saw Matt Strom struggle when following his scoreless streak coming to an end. He's had a couple games he struggled. Jose's had a couple games he hasn't looked the same as sharp. Jeff Hoffman right now, this is not the time. This is not the time.
Well, and I will say this for Hoffman, while he probably had to get ready a little bit quicker. Well, let's rephrase that. While he had to get ready, which was something we didn't expect coming into a 6-1 lead, in the ninth inning, he is coming in with a fresh slate. This is now a 2-run game. It's a save situation, and its base is empty. Not to say that this is good, because obviously you would have preferred for Jose Ruiz to work quickly, and
Jose Ruiz struggled for sure.
It ends up being a 6-1 game, a 6-2 game, whatever the case may be. But the opposite, the other, situation could be Jeff Hoffman's coming in with runners on first and third with nobody out. And then he's got to try to, patchwork the damage more than he already is. So at this point, this is a 6-4 game with a Jeff Hoffman save opportunity. And you can almost flush the Jose Ruiz stuff as long as Jeff Hoffman does his job, which I expect him to do.
And listen, Jose Ruiz is a guy that we've talked about that is, I know everybody in the chat's not happy with, of course, the way that Jose Ruiz pitched today. Jose Ruiz is a guy that I've mentioned, I don't feel like I notice him, which to me is kind of a good thing. Like he's not great. His numbers aren't off the charts. He has some rocky moments, but he's not hurting the Phillies. Today, not great, of course. This is hurting the Phillies a little bit more, but if he's your weakest bullpen arm that you have, and he's, him and maybe like a Junior Marte, different guys that are not going to be your high leverage situation guys that you can throw in a pinch, a 6-1 game. Okay. I don't think he's going to be someone that as the season progresses, you're not going to ever see him in big moments come playoffs and things like that. So I think he's one of those players, you're kind of feeling him out just to see what he can add and provide. He definitely would not be able to play. I know Corey's mentioned in the chat, he can't play in the playoffs unless it's a 15-run blowout. I don't expect to see him in the postseason. I think he's an arm that helps you in the regular season just to stretch out your bullpen so you don't have to overextend Jeff, Orion, Jose, Matt. But I do have faith in Jeff. We've got an out. We're slowly crawling to the end of this game, guys. We're slowly getting there. We're trying to get to the post-game show here. We're trying to get to the official victory post-game show.
And you're talking about, Jose Ruiz is not going to be on the playoff roster. I think that you're looking at he's in a low leverage. He's your extreme low leverage guy. I mean, Marte has already surpassed him since coming back from the IL, as kind of expected.
Definitely.
Obviously you're a little bit thin in depth right now with both Turnbull and Walker missing time, because this would have been a spot where you probably could have thrown Turnbull if Walker and Turnbull were both healthy. It's a bad outing, and I don't expect Jose Ruiz is not the type of guy that I'm sitting here thinking about, is he going to get high leverage innings, come playoff time? Whether they make an acquisition and it's a closer on a bad team who becomes a setup guy. I know Greg brought up Tanner Scott. Carlos Estevez is another type of guy that people have brought up a bunch. Or it's a legit, middle reliever type of guy that you would consider acquiring. Like, whether it's a trade or it's just your entire rotation and pitching staff gets healthy, the likelihood that Jose Ruiz is on a playoff roster is probably pretty close to zero.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. We are
By
finally at
the
2
way,
outs,
this
though.
home plate umpire's been awful today for both sides. He's been terrible.
Yeah, he's been pretty consistently bad. I don't know what's up with the umps lately. The more that we talk about needing to be able to have some changes in accountability. You're ahead of me. You're ahead of me.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh,
That
it's
was
over.
wow.
Yay! We officially have a victory
Talking
show.
about
Woo!
there.
That was stressful at the end. We were talking about how this game was stress-free, and then apparently they wanted to add a little razzle-dazzle at the very
Jeff
end.
Hoffman made it a stress-free ninth.
Yeah, we could have kept it stress-free. I like stress-free. This was a great win. A lot of positives to take away from this. A lot to learn from this. We'll talk more officially as we welcome you into our victory PHLY Phillies post-game show. Game is over. Thanks for those that were able to jump in with us early to be able to tune in as we closed out the game, because that was a stressful way to end. It definitely was not. The game was kind of slow and anticlimactic until it wasn't. So glad that we had a chance to squeeze this one out. Jeff Hoffman comes in, takes care of business. Jose Ruiz definitely struggled. And we'll talk about Michael Mercado and Trea and everything throughout this game, some history. Of course, every win the Phillies make some sort of history, it feels like, and some more was made again tonight. So, we survived. We'll have John Foley joining us shortly as we can now unpack. This is a great way the Phillies start series with wins. They start games with scoring runs. I think it was plus 100 they are. It's over 100 runs that they are in the start of games. And they also have had 52 games, I believe it is now, that they've won. Multiple series, I should say, that they've won the first game, which is huge. You start off the series off the right foot. And as we mentioned, with a big pitcher matchup tomorrow with Zach Wheeler and Showtime Managa, you get a good chance to get a W under your belt. Has you sitting pretty heading into tomorrow's game to be able to close out, honestly, the series tomorrow, which is incredible, especially with how the Phillies have had injuries, have had some rocky up and downs, to then come out today and get some offensive production from Trea leading the way, get a nice pitching performance from Michael, and get a win. Whew.
Yeah. So before we get to John, you brought up stress-free, and it was anything but in the ninth. But I will tell you this. In about 14 hours' time, all of us are going to be stress-free because it will be 4th of July coming up. I know a lot of you took off Friday as well, so you got yourself a nice 4-day weekend. And when I'm hanging out stress-free, I'm hanging out with a Miller Lite in my hand because you know everything there is to know about Miller Lite. But in case you live under a rock, let me tell you about Miller Lite over the years. They don't change. You know why? Because they have great taste. They've been around since 1975. And they have great taste. It's less filling. It's only 96 calories. And when you're hanging out, you're down the shore. I know I'm heading down the shore in a couple of days. I'm sure a ton of you are. Whether you're down the shore or you're going up the mountains or you're just hanging out in the backyard and you're cracking open an ice cold beer, make sure you're cracking open a Miller Lite and celebrating the holiday, hopefully a long holiday weekend for all of you, with an ice cold Miller Lite. I know that's what I'm going to be doing when I hit the beach on Thursday, when I hit the beach on Friday. I'll probably be using it in multiple capacities because I'm going to drink a couple of Miller Lites, and then I know inevitably, because I'm an idiot, I'm going to get sunburn. And so I'll use my ice cold Miller Lite in turn, not just drink it, but I'm going to use it to fix my sunburn a little bit and give me some relief. And that's the beauty of Miller Lite, is you can take it everywhere and you can get it everywhere. Miller Lite keeps it simple. It has undebatable quality, great taste. And did I mention just 96 calories? So when you're sitting out in the sun this weekend and you're saying, I don't want anything that's going to make me feel bloated or make me feel full, I'm going to eat a lot of food, I'm going to have some good beer, think about Miller Lite. It is a beer that strips away everything you don't need and holds on to what matters most. It is the original light beer since 1975. And you don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. It tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/PHLY or you can find it basically everywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium light beer.
All right. Well, please don't get sunburned, Tyler. But also let's make sure
it's going to happen. Don't worry.
Do it. Please be smart. Make good sun choices. But also, when the Phillies win, it makes it a lot easier for us to sleep at night. It's a later start for tonight, which means we get to go to bed shortly. And you can go to sleep a lot easier knowing that the Phillies win. But you can also go to sleep a lot easier when you have a chance to work with our friends over at Sleep Healthy PA. At Sleep Healthy PA, they are committed to helping Philly residents stop the snore, find solutions for sleep apnea, and that will allow you to sleep well, have restful sleep. That's right. You can wake up the next day feeling restful, not restless, and make sure you're improving your overall health. Sleep apnea is that choking point. You wake up and you feel like you're catching your breath. It causes snoring, and for some it causes very very dreadful snoring that may impact not only yourself and your own sleep, but those around you. You might be bothering your significant other. Some of you may have even dogs that snore. You have children that their snores are echoing through the house. We all know those loud snores that are snoring, and it's not great to try to sleep with snores echoing through the house. So Dr. Andrew Cohen, who is a board certified doctor in dental sleep medicine, and his staff will work one-on-one with you to be able to provide first-class care that will meet your needs. They also have a great opportunity for anybody that does have sleep apnea to give you other options outside of the clunky CPAP machines. I've seen them. I don't have one, but I know people that do that have sleep apnea, and it's not comfortable to sleep with from what I've heard. And so they're also providing you options that are better than those cumbersome CPAP machines so that you and your significant other and everybody else can get a good night's rest. So today, when you take advantage of this opportunity and head on over to connect with our friends at Sleep Healthy PA, let them know that us at PHLY sent you. Get 15% off your initial workup. That process is a 2-hour initial exam. It's split into 2 sessions. You do some information gathering, you get your medical history, your imaging, and then you get to review the results, and they give you great recommendations. So at Sleep Healthy PA, they are committed to helping you get a good night's rest. If you're experiencing any sleep apnea, if you're looking for custom solutions to stop the snore, 50% of marriages they report are dealing, part of the issue of divorces, I should say, are because of snoring. That's not great at all. That's a really bad number. So let's stop the snore. Reach out to Dr. Andrew Cohen at sleephealthypa.com or call 215-337-2501 and tell them again, us at PHLY sent you. All right, as we're talking through the post-game show, let's welcome our buddy John Foley. The great John is here because the Phillies won. And guys, it's a great way to kick off this Cubs series. It's the holiday week. It was a beautiful night at Wrigley Field. I know in the chat it was mentioned by Corey how nice it looked at Wrigley today. I loved how the broadcast sprinkled in some lovely history about Wrigley Field because we know how much you love the historic fields, Tyler. And the fact that Wrigley Field, which was built back in 1914, cost $250,000 at the time. Beautiful, except for the ivy wall. What are we doing here? I'm so glad that I heard that the MLBPA is really adamantly trying to get rid of that ivy wall. That seems very painful. I don't know what's underneath of it. That's the only thing I don't like about Wrigley. But overall, it was a win.
The answer to that question.
Not good.
That's what's under that wall.
Not good. Not good. But what was good, Michael Mercado, Trea Turner, and the Phillies getting a win. John, what are your thoughts on what we saw from Michael Mercado in his 5 innings pitched tonight? He had a great stat line in his first Major League Baseball start. Just 2 hits, the 1 run, of course, that he gave up, 2 walks, 4 Ks, and was able to go the full 5 innings and looked solid and looked very composed and steady through those 5 innings.
Yeah, he sure did, Renee. He looked like a guy. He 2 hits, 2 walks through 5. What more can you ask for out of the rookie? So exciting to see that from Michael Mercado. We'll see where he goes from here, but that was a great debut or starting debut. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
I lost my headset again.
I like the AirPods. The AirPods work too.
Okay.
Yes, but it was a great starting debut because, of course, we got to see him out of the bullpen, and now to get to see him as a starter, which is a completely different beast. And for Michael Mercado, he, of course, made some history as well because with only giving up 2 hits and 1 run in the 5 innings tonight, joined some good company. The last Phillies pitcher to allow 2 or fewer hits and 1 or fewer runs in 5+ innings in their first MLB start, Fabio Castro back in August of 2007, and then before Castro was Cole Hamels in his Major League debut in 2006. And I know they were showing some other previous Phillies starters, Bailey Falter, who was the youngest Phillies pitcher to make a start prior to Mercado. It's hard to be 25 years old and you're taking the mound at Wrigley Field, historic Wrigley Field. Also, as Tyler and I were talking about before, with the Phillies pitching staff, how well they've been pitching so far, the pressure's on. You're not coming into a struggling group. You're coming into the best in baseball, getting the ball from the start, and having to go out and deliver. And I love the fact that Mercado was able to show just how well he's been able to grow and improve, and looked great tonight.
Yeah, and the fantastic thing about it is you're not hoping he comes up here and turns into some kind of ace. You just need your fifth starter in the rotation, somebody to perform a little better than Taijuan Walker was before he went down. So it looks like he's got a chance to do that. It's great. Wrigley Field, what a place to make your debut, your starting debut. Renee, I do got to stick up for the Ivy as the old man on tonight's broadcast. Wrigley without the Ivy. Are they going to go the Phillies route and do like the video screen and fake Ivy on the video? It's just it would be the same without the Ivy.
CGI Ivy. AI.
CGI Ivy. I mean, no.
No.
It's easy for me to say because I don't have to play, right field.
Well, I don't know what else they could do, because in order to have the Ivy, you have to have something firm underneath of it to hold the Ivy. So I don't know. I'm not a construction expert or anything. There's got to be a way to have like a balance between the two. It is a really pretty aesthetic in the background, much better than video boards and things like that, that apparently hurt people's eyes and mess with right fielders' eyes specifically, in the Castellanos. But there's got to be a way to marry the two. Keep the history of Wrigley Field. They've been doing upgrades. They talked about it. They've done a lot of upgrades in terms of seating and concessions and stuff. There's got to be a way to keep the Ivy, but keep the comfort.
Right, so here's what we're going to do. Me and Renee are going to go to a new ballpark, and we're going to run full speed into a padded wall. And then, John, you go to Wrigley and run into a brick wall, and we'll for science purposes.
Hey, if it's for science, I guess I have to do it. But I don't know. People, they've been playing for decades with the wall. And how many people got killed?
That's not a reason.
A handful.
That's like when the old baseball fields had the awful like cancer-causing material. Should they have just kept it, John, because they just did it for? That's not what we're doing here.
No, it wasn't. The vet turf was not aesthetically pleasing and historical the way the Ivy is. All right, we can save the Ivy for another day. We could talk about some other great performances. How about Trea Turner? 2 home runs, 3 hits on the day, I think, and 4 RBI. Really, I think the story of the game, besides Marcato, is Trea Turner stepping up, just as Phillies have done throughout the season. When some of the stars go down, other guys step up. Turner was out for a while, and everybody else was hitting, and now other guys are down, and Turner steps up. It's a beautiful thing to see. I mean, this is how special seasons go. You have guys stepping up. You have rookies coming from the minor leagues and making a contribution. Everything's going well. I mean, this is fantastic. You're missing a third of your starting lineup. JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, and they're still getting it done. It's great. You look at the box score today. You're happy about everybody you saw, with the exception of Jose Ruiz. That was a shame that you had to burn Hoffman today, a day of usage. But other than that, what is there to complain about, right?
Yeah, I think
exactly.
When you have, I was thinking about this. Like, I don't think I put it entirely into perspective, like all of it together. This stretch of injuries and performances. To put into perspective, you have been out now for almost a week with missing your leadoff hitter and your 3-hitter, and you have missed your 5-hole hitter, and when your 2-hole hitter was out, your 2-hole hitter, and over the course of the last 21 games, you're 11-10. And this is the worst stretch of the season for this team, to go 11-10 over 21 games. I don't think we've put into perspective how mind-bogglingly good this team has been this year. Even in their bad stretches, they're a game over 500 through the course of 3 weeks worth of games. That's freaking incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. I mean, is everyone okay? Are we handling this okay? 11-10. I mean, they could I think everybody's hope is just that they would tread water, right, with all these guys out, and that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, the lead in the division is still what, 8 games. I don't know if Atlanta's
9.
winning
It's
tonight.
9 now.
9?
Yeah, Atlanta lost
Yeah.
tonight.
Oh, come on.
Exactly.
Come on.
I mean,
Fantastic.
that's the great thing about it. And as you talk about losing a third, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, and JT Realmuto have accounted for 45% of the Phillies' home runs prior to, of course, Bryce and Kyle getting injured, and 32% of all of their RBIs. So 45 of their home runs, 32% of their RBIs that were accounted for with those three. And you lose them, and you're still getting production. And that's the greatest thing about the timing. I know in the chat, Greg was mentioning about this balanced deep team. And, even Philly 007's bringing up Garrett Stubbs, who we'll talk about in a moment. You look at this squad, the lineup they roll out today, you've got the bottom of your batting order, Cody Clemens, David Dahl, Garrett Stubbs, Johan Rojas, and you still managed to go up 6-1. And despite a Jose Ruiz not good outing, period, you still come away with a great win against the Cubs at Wrigley Field to start off the series. Nobody expected this team to do so well without Trea Turner. And then then there were a lot of people that didn't expect them to continue without JT. And here they are without Bryce and Kyle and still rolling and still winning games. And like you both mentioned, no, they're not going on a winning streak and undefeated, but to be able to still split series and win games and score runs, it just speaks volumes to this team. And this is the making of a really good team that in these moments where most teams would crumble without 45% of their home runs, a third of their batting order, the top of their batting order. Yet the Phillies have the next man up mentality. And like you said, John, when Trea was out, the team stepped up for Trea. Now that Trea is back, he's stepping up for the guys that are out. It's like, I got this, my turn. And every game it's someone different. And we said that when they were healthy, every game it was someone different. But we're really seeing that now that they are dealing with injuries, that you even have a Michael Mercado come in. And I know in the chat you guys are talking about him being better than Taijuan Walker. I know. People are already ready to ship Taijuan off and have Michael start start in his place as the 5-hole. But in all seriousness, you lose Taijuan, then Spencer Turnbull comes in, you lose Spencer Turnbull, and then you bring in another starter in Michael Mercado, and you just continue rolling. That's the beauty of this team. I think it's technically only been 7 starters that they've had this season so far, where the past at this point in the year, they might have already been rolling out 16, 17 starters. The depth, the versatility, and just the overall teamsmanship. I know they talked about on the broadcast, and it's something I kind of have been noticing. Every man in the dugout is up. Every man in the dugout's paying attention. Every guy in the bullpen's tossing hats and all into it. Like, this team is special. They're rocking the all-star shirts to get votes for their guys and prior to the game. All the little things are there, and that really has this chemistry so that it's seamless when somebody else steps in or somebody else has to go out because they're injured, that this team just keeps on rolling, honestly.
Yeah, and you talk about the chemistry, and I think sometimes we tend to think of it as an afterthought. Like, okay, here's the hitting numbers, here's the pitching numbers. Oh, and they seem to be great guys that like playing together and like being on the same team. I think it's a big deal because you think about any job you've ever had. How much easier is it to work when you like the people around you, when you're happy to show up every day? Everybody's winning. Now, a lot of it's because of the winning, right? It's easier to have good chemistry when you're winning the way they have been. But they really seem like they genuinely stick together. It's great to see, and I think it's more important than we sometimes give it credit for.
Yeah, I think that there's merit, especially in results-driven businesses. Like, it's not the same. I'm not trying to compare it, but we are in a results-driven business, right? We don't do well, we get fired. That's how that works. And now, granted, that's how every company works, but like there's actual metrics in our industry to say, like, okay, your view counts are down, or
you know what, by the way, smash that like button, hit subscribe.
Job.
We're trying to make a living.
We understand what it's like. If the three of us came on here and we didn't like each other and there was just no chemistry and we were just like robotically going through the motions, you would tell, right? Like, you could tell that, like, people that don't like to work together, it's pretty obvious. And I think in a situation where you are with people, in our case 5 days a week, in their case every day of the year for 190 days or whatever it comes out to be, that can grate on you if you are with people that you don't want to be around. And whether you wear it on your, you wear it as a facial expression, you wear it on your shoulders or not, like, it's pretty palpable eventually that it catches up to you when you have a negative work experience. So I think you're right, John. I think there's significant merit to playing with a group of guys that you genuinely like playing with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've come a long way. We've come a long way from Carlos Santana, like smashing the TV and right with the Fortnite stuff. This is this is a team of professionals, good guys. It's great stuff. It should be.
Well, and the other part of it, as I know in the chat, it's being mentioned by Philly 007 about David all swinging at everything he saw today. And David did struggle. He was over, and he was swinging at he's swinging at everything. When you have a day like that and things are not going your way, it does help to have teammates around you that can kind of pick you up instead of it always feeling like you're on an island and every man for themselves. And, everyone is just only out for their own success and only out for their own numbers. You look at this group and they really stick together. And that's what helps them be able to overcome the challenges and the adversity, the individual ones and the team ones, that it allows them to have a chance to, ride the wave of the season. Because the other part is you're together so much. Imagine being like, we see each other all the time and we jokingly say like, oh man, I see you every day, but like you see each other every day, and imagine you don't like each other and now you're traveling all over to London, West Coast, all over the place, and you see them more than your own family and you couldn't stand them. That's painful. And I think this team genuinely has fun, generally is enjoying, playing baseball, and that's the core of it. You're just doing what you love. But also I want to mention just the importance of this win. I know, Tyler, you hit on it a little bit earlier with the stretch that's coming up. And of course, we know there's the expectation that Kyle Schwarber should be back next week. Bryce Harper could potentially be back next week as well, and is aiming to be back for both of them around the Dodgers series. The schedule does get really difficult moving forward, and that chemistry is needed, but also winning games is needed, because you don't want to go into this stretch of July and you hit a rough patch and you're under 500 through these series when you are playing the Braves, the Cubs, the Braves, the Dodgers. It's a lot of West Coast trips. It's a lot going on. So to have this like start to July, game one against the Cubs, I think is tremendous for just like that overall feel good chemistry moving forward.
Well, we talked about the 12-game stretch in between now and the All-Star break that began today. They were 55 and 61, or 55 and 29 coming into today's game. You go 6-6, you get to 61 and 35 at the All-Star break. And I don't care who you play. I don't care how you got there. I know you had a torrid start to start the year. If you have all of these things that have happened, right? You lose your leadoff hitter, you lose your 3-hitter, you lose your 5-hitter, you lose your 2-hitter for a moment. Your fifth starter's been in limbo basically the entirety of the season. And if you play 6-6 ball over this course of a 12-game stretch, you are 25 games over 500 heading into the All-Star break. And you just chopped off the first one. Now you got to go 5-6. And now maybe you start thinking about a 6-5 as opposed to that. And then all of a sudden a 7-5 12-game stretch gets you to 62 wins. And you're chopping off wins and you're chopping off series, right? You're stacking series. And to be able to win game one as often as they do, to have an ability to stack a series in game two as opposed to having to win a rubber match, or as opposed to having to win 2 and 3, I think it goes a really long way to continue to keep this team buoyant as these guys get back. And now you're 9 games up on the division lead. I think you have a 2-game lead across Major League Baseball, at least percentage points wise. You're at a spot now where if you go 5-6 the rest of the 11 days between now and the All-Star break, you're at 61 wins. You're in a really good spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely correct. I do hope, I'm looking at some of the comments here. Greg MC talking about Harper maybe for the Dodger series. I do hope he's back for that. I mean, the Phillies are going to be careful. Of course, they don't want him re-aggravating anything right before you've got the All-Star break. But Harper wants to play in the All-Star game. He's the showman, the entertainer. He wants to be there, and I'm pretty sure he's going to want to play in that Dodgers series too. That's a big deal, possibly a playoff preview. So it would be great and a lot of fun to have everyone full strength for that. Hopefully, they at least get Schwarber. Philly 007 is that trust that this team was built for the long haul, as JT said. Absolutely, all trusting each other. Seth mentions Rob setting the culture. I do think. We forget sometimes it's always hard to be a manager, right? There's always going to be moves you can pick apart here and there. But when you look at, when you look back to the Joe Girardi days, look at the difference in this team and the willingness to play the young guys. We forget that, Stott couldn't get on the field under Girardi. So he really did. He set this culture and, he stays even keel. I couldn't be more thrilled with the job that Rob Thompson is doing. Like I said, I'm not going to agree with all his moves. Nobody ever is with any manager. But there's a lot there. Reclusive Minds giving some love to Jeff Hoffman with a 1-2-3 inning. Textbook closer stuff. Agree 100%. Mr. Krabs saying I'm looking like I'm being held hostage. All right. I got to work on my lighting. I got to work on my setup.
You got to get a ring light like me.
I know that. Yeah, I need a ring light. I need to step my game up there. But
no, you're absolutely right. It's great to see how this group has just continued to, have the depth, have the trust, have the culture built. And I do not blame Bryce for wanting to get back for the Dodgers series. Obviously, this would be his first chance to be able to play in the All-Star game as a Philly. It's crazy to think the things he hasn't been able to do with the Phillies because of injuries. And one of them has been Player of the Month, NL Player of the Month, check. He hasn't gotten any opportunity to play in an All-Star game as a Philly. So he's, also chomping at the bit, not to mention with how much fandom and how much, you look at the Phillies, everywhere they travel, everywhere they play, it's sellout crowds. It's 38,000 plus, 40,000 plus. People are locked into the Phillies right now. And to then have Bryce and Kyle go down injured, JT go down injured in a moment where you're really getting that attention, just in London, you put on the show as the greatest showman and you want to continue that momentum. So I feel like part of it is everybody's ready to see Bryce Harper versus Shohei Ohtani, Dodgers versus Phillies, July baseball as a preview as you talk about for the postseason. And you want them to both to be as close to 100% as possible. The Dodgers have also been dealing with some injuries of their own. Will Smith, I'm looking at you, fantasy team. But overall, it's been two really great teams, and you want to see how they can clash in a nice July series. But thank you, Phil69. Appreciate your love and support. That is so kind of you. And I love Cuz, and we've all been on his show at some point. So thank you for that.
Frank, let's know when we're on our way out to Chicago. Look, we don't get the same budget as the Eagles guys. Let's be clear. We'll try.
Jamie's out there now. Like to do everything. Jamie's in Chicago now, so if you are in Chicago, shoot him a message. See if you can connect with him while he's out there for the week, because it should be a great week. The weather's supposed to be nice. It's the 4th of July. There's going to be plenty of fireworks, plenty of fun, and plenty to look forward to this week. And, of course, some great baseball that we should get as the Phillies hopefully can continue this run as they started off today. And tomorrow's going to be a really great matchup that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, a lot of great baseball to be had. And if you want to get in on some of the action with this weekend and some of the weekend games, you head on over to the BetPark Sportsbook because it is my sportsbook and casino of choice. I tell you all the time that I live right around the corner from BetPark's casino. But if you can't make it, I understand. If you're maybe you're out of town or you're just a little lazy to head on down, get on in on the BetPark Sportsbook because it is the sportsbook of choice. Money is in the moment. And, of course, you can get in on all of the baseball action coming up over the next weekend. A game that I'm looking at for tomorrow, and I apologize for the last time that I gave you a pick. It did not go well. My man Logan Gilbert got rocked. In a game I gave you Seattle, and that didn't particularly go too well. However, all of a sudden, don't look now. The Houston Astros are a game over 500, and they're only 4 games back in the AL West for the division lead. I think there is a similar number out of the wild card as well. And tomorrow will be game 3 between the Astros and Toronto. They split the first 2, and as Jamie would tell you, this might be a coward series if they do go 2-2. But one of the young surprises of the year is Ronel Blanco. He's 8-3 now with a 2.49 ERA, strikeouts at about 84. So the strikeout numbers are a little low, but he's pitched really, really well. It is basically a split. You can get Houston at -108 on the money line. You can get Toronto at -109. I know that this game is home, but Yusei Kikuchi is on the mound for the Blue Jays, and he's posted a 4.5 ERA to this point in the season. So I'm rocking with the Astros on the money line, -108. And that's just one of the many games you can get in on with the BetPark Sportsbook app and win your first $10 bet, and you can get up to $125 in sports bonus bets. We all play for fun, but we also love to win, and that is why you bet, and you should bet with the BetPark Sportsbook app. So download the app today and play along with us. You do have to be 21 or older. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right. Well, we do have some exciting opportunities to come hang with us. I know you guys are asking Frank when we'll be in Chicago. Well, I don't know when we'll be in Chicago, but I can tell you when we'll be out at some various events that we're hosting, starting with our July 13th Valley Brook Country Club event that we're hosting there for the first annual Liberty Open. We're going to have our PHLY golf outing. It's a scramble format. You can sign up as a single, a foursome, or you can even sponsor a hole. There's going to be some prizes, dinner, contests, unlimited draft beer. I should have led with that. My bad. Unlimited draft beer for 2 hours post rounds. That's right. So lots of great food, drinks, and fun that you guys can sign up for that July 13th outing at the Valley Brook Country Club in Blackwood, New Jersey. We also have some great events coming up here for the Phillies because as we are continuing to roll through the summer, that means we've got the All-Star game, we've got the draft, we've got the trade deadline, which is 29 days away. And you guys can actually hang with us for the trade deadline show that we're going to be hosting. We've got some excitement that's going down. You guys can have fun with us because we have plenty of opportunities to get to connect together and be able to do live shows in person where we get to interact with you. So you can go over to allphly.com to get registered. It's always a free event for the most part, such as our Gall & Co. event for the London series. But coming up in July, we've got some great Phillies events for you. So at allphly.com, you can sign up, you can register, you can get the details, be locked in, so you can join us. I know we've got the link and the details for you, Tyler, I believe, of the show that we're going to be putting together late in July to be able to have some fun. Oh, there it is. The trade deadline live show. There is Jamie and myself. You can hang with us July 30th from 5 to 7 p.m. and we'll be at Bill Murphy's Irish Saloon. As always, it's presented by Miller Lite, which means we'll have some great Miller Lite specials for you. So, of course, become a diehard today. Also be able to check out all of our articles, our shows, our content, lots of great things that we're sending your way. And honestly, we're just getting started. We're like the Phillies. We're just getting rolling. We've got a lot more exciting things coming your way as the year progresses, especially as the summer rolls on. All right, guys, speaking of exciting things, John Foley, everyone is convinced you're being held against your will, so blink twice so they know that you're not. Bam, bam. Okay, we're good.
I see you, boss. What's up,
say
man?
that. I don't know.
Bark twice again, Milwaukee.
But it is great as we continue talking through the Phillies win, some other exciting nuggets of information for you guys because they are sitting 9 games ahead of the Braves. The Braves continue to lose. The Phillies do continue to win. It does feel like every win without Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber is a bonus win. I agree with you, Phil 69, because it easily could have been justified if they had went and tanked and dropped all these games for us to cry and whine and complain. They don't have Bryce. They don't have Kyle. They keep losing games. They're missing players and have all the excuses. Instead, no excuses needed because the Phillies are finding ways to win games. So today, with a nice over 38,000 in attendance, a lot of those were Phillies fans, of course. We did get a lot of Phillies fans. We did get some insight on the fact they have now won 53 games where they score first. So pretty much every game that they've won this season, it's about 53 that they've won where they have scored first. They're jumping on an opponents early. They're getting out after pitchers. They're getting pitchers deep into the pitch count. They're winning games early. And for the most part, if they aren't winning games, it's been a very close extra innings, down to the wire type of a game. This team has been in every game, and they've been very consistent, whether it's right-handed pitchers, which they're top in the league against right-handed pitchers with that 7.14 winning percentage of a 35-14 record versus righties, or the fact that they also have been top in the league in home runs. They sit number 3 in the league in home runs. This group is hitting on every accord. And it's great to see. And even someone like Alec Boehm, who we haven't even talked about yet, and we've been on this show for almost an hour. Alec Boehm, who is still top of the RBI leaderboard, doubles leaderboard, has been having a fantastic season. Garrett Stubbs gets his second double of the year on that 2-run double, helps to get the Phillies on the scoreboard. And again, has the helmet go flying because Garrett Stubbs apparently loves to have his helmet go flying whenever he's rounding the bases, which is becoming annoying to me, but it means he's running and he's helping and he's getting hits. It's just where I don't even know a negative aside from Jose Ruiz today that you really can look at from this game. There was even Yoro gets a bunt, gets to first, tries to steal second. I love the fact that Rob challenged it, shows some support for Johan Rojas. He was close. He was very close. I feel like he was safe. He just couldn't see it enough to be able to overturn it. But I can't really pinpoint anything negative outside of the 9th inning Jose Ruiz struggles that you even saw from today.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, and if you're going to worry about somebody, let Jose Ruiz be the guy. I know I saw some comments about David Dahl. Let him be the person you worry about.
I guess he was a negative.
Yeah, I mean, but these aren't the guys that are going to make the difference in October, and that's why I don't worry too much about the 5th starter. You're not going to see him in a game unless things have really gone sideways. You've got four top of the rotation guys, really. That's going to carry you through the postseason. Renee, you mentioned the jumping out on teams early. I think part of that's on the offense, and then part of it's just because the starting pitching has been amazing. They keep the other team scoreless, and then whenever the Phillies score, it's going to be the first run in the game. And then you mentioned the close games and the blowouts. BaseballReference.com tracks blowout records, 5+ runs in either direction. Phillies are 21-6 in blowout games. 6 times they've been blown out, and against 21 wins. That's impressive. The split in 1-run games, 13 wins, 10 losses. That's a little surprising to me. It feels like they have a losing record in one-run games, just because they've lost so many close ones. But that's what it takes to beat them. If you're going to beat them, it's probably going to be something close. Scratch out a win against them. Extra innings, they're 6-6. So that's the thing. If you get them into a 1-run game, extra innings, they're around 500. But so many games, they just jump on a team right out of the gates and win in a laugher. Today almost did that. Except for the 9th inning, it was a pretty smooth ride.
Well, and you bring up the losses that are what's the criteria? 5 runs is considered a blowout?
Yeah, on Baseball Reference.
4 of those games happened April 23rd or earlier on the season. They lost the first game of the year to the Braves 9-3. They lost the second game of the year to the Braves 12-4. They lost to Pittsburgh on April 14th 9-2, and they lost to the Reds 8-1 in Cincinnati on April 23rd. Those 4 games were 4 of their first 7 losses on the year, and they all came in blowout fashion. Since then, they've basically been in just about every contest they've played.
I mean, that's incredible. So you take away those 4 losses in April. So that's 21-2 in the last 23 sort of decisive games that you can really say this team just dominated the other. And then I mean, if you're doing that, fine. Then in the toss-ups, they're going to be toss-ups. They're going to be every team's probably going to be somewhere around 500 in extra innings, 1 run. But 21-2 since April in games by 5 or more runs. That's nuts. So my gosh, Phillies flashback central from Chicago. See if you met up with Jamie out there.
Oh yeah.
What's going on, man?
The team that wins like 57, 58, 59% of their close games is either have one of 2 things. You're going to get a 100-win team out of that because, like you said, your blowouts. If you're blowing teams out, you're a good team. If you're getting blown out a lot, you're a bad team. Your middle ground games, your close games are where you make up a lot of the ground. Your 57, 58, 59, 60% win in close game teams are either going to be a 100-win team or they're going to be like the Marlins last year, where the Marlins win like 60 2-run games, but they have a minus run differential because they're getting their asses kicked every other night. but the number balances out. The Marlins make the playoffs with a minus run differential. I think Milwaukee was close to that last year too. I think that they were pretty close to even in terms of run differential. So like the teams that can win the close games more times than not, they go to the playoffs.
Well, also it helps prepare you for the playoffs. You know, you have the ability that when the game is close, you know how to grind out wins. And something I remember us very vividly talking about last season in the postseason, the frustration became home run or bust, and there was no in between. And you look at the Phillies arsenal this season, we've seen them, whether it's a pitching game that's winning it for them, a complete game shutout, or it's bunting, small ball. They have found so many different ways to win. It's different guys each time, and it's different ways to win. And that versatility has really made it extremely difficult for opponents to even know how to game plan for them. Because if you try to, let's say you don't want to pitch to Bryce Harper, oh, here comes Alec Bohm. You know, like there's no way to even prepare for this group with how they're playing. And, you know, again, tonight is another opportunity for someone else to step up. And we talked about Trea Turner. He hit 2 home runs on the night. All of his home runs this season have been over 400 feet. His second home run, that 2-run homer, was the longest of the season for him at 439 feet. And to have a 4 RBI night from him, who would have expected that? I mean, yes, he was the hero for his birthday, but he also was 0 for 4 the day before that. So even, you know, the inconsistencies, it's kind of one day a guy's the one that's the hero, and the next day it's somebody else. And I think that has really helped this group tremendously this season, as you talk about those close games and the blowouts, that when we look back on the early part, the first two series, I should say, people were ready to hit the panic button. Oh no, they lost to the Braves. Oh no, they lost to the Reds. They started off the season awful. This team looks terrible. It was like those rainy games. Remember, the weather was awful in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, the Cincinnati series
was awful. The St. Louis game that Aaron Nola pitched was brutal. They had some ugly games to start off the season. And now that they've settled into a routine, they've been great. And even after the London series, we saw that routine shaken a little bit. This team is figuring out how to manage traveling, close games, going down, being up. You know, they respond so well to whatever hits that they've taken. And so I love that stat, John, because it just speaks volumes to how this group has been so able to be in games. Win or lose, they're in games every time.
Yeah, Renee, you mentioned it. I think somebody said in the comments earlier too. It's the balance too, right? Sometimes it's the pitching. They can beat you like that. They can shut you down. Sometimes it's the offense. They can come out and Trea Turner can hit 2 home runs. Sometimes it's both. You know, it's great to see. I mean, rotation, bullpen, lineup, all, you know, top 5 at least. I think the rotation's top 1. And then, you know, in all facets of the game, even the defense. I mean, no, you can have complaints here and there. Turner's not the best shortstop on routine plays, but you know, and compared to where the defense was a couple of years ago, where it was just, you know, a joke, like, you know, ball go boom, and that's the only way they're going to win. This is really different. Really nice balance. I see Bob's talking about the 5th starter. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Mercado gave you exactly what you need tonight. Take care and get the team through 5 innings. You've got the lead. Now you can bring in some back of the bullpen guys. And yeah, you ended up having to burn Hoffman, but Strom, Alvarado, and now they're ready there tomorrow. Cleveland John says that this team's got that dog in them. That's exactly
they
right.
Do.
That's exactly what they have.
No, but the thing is, the areas, when you really look at a game like today, the areas that the Phillies struggled in all reality, it was Jose Ruiz in the 9th inning. It was David Dahl going 0 for 4. None of those guys are going to be in the playoffs. You're not seeing, and you shouldn't, hopefully, knock on wood, you're not seeing them in the postseason. So, like, the areas that this team has been great, that's what I've noticed as, okay, that directly translates into playoff action. Your 5th starter, you know, your low leverage situation type of a bullpen arm, we're not worried about them. How is Orion looking? I mean, Orion Kerkering today, another game that you see Orion in his 29th game of the season. He comes right in, continues. They had like 13 straight strikeouts. that the bullpen was throwing, that they were able to retire 13 in a row. Orion's a big part of that. I wanted to see how would Orion look with a full season under his belt after coming in last year to the majors, called up in September. These are things that you needed to fine tune. So if you're worried about like, oh, Michael Mercado looks better than Taiwan, not a big deal, because neither of them are going to be relevant as we get into the later part of the season, that you're not even going to be using them come September, October.
Well, and you were talking about some of these guys that who has struggled recently, right? And we've talked about Gregory Soto a lot over the course of the show. And I know that optically, like, you look at a whip that's still a 1.5, it's still a little bit high. I gotta shout Gregory Soto a little bit. He's been really, really good over the last, I think it's his last 12 appearances. His last 9 appearances, 12 innings pitched. He has been much, much better. The command has been better. The walk rate is still low, like numerically speaking, because it was ridiculously high to begin with. But it's all of the metrics are trending in the right direction. Listen, I'm not expecting Gregory Soto to be a high leverage reliever come playoff time. But I will say this. I think that when you have a slog of 162 game season, every reliever that you can trust, even if it's only for a bulk of time, like you had a block where you could trust Sir Anthony Dominguez. And I don't know if that means that lasts throughout the course of the year, but for a 3 or 4 week stretch, Dominguez pitched well. Now you're in a block where you feel comfortable in medium leverage situations with Gregory Soto. So like, if you're not getting full seasons out of these guys, that's totally fine because they're your medium and low leverage relievers. But when they're on, I think they deserve shouts because they're going to get criticized when they're not. Gregory Soto over his last 9 appearances has been really, really good. I have to tip my cap to him. And I don't know how long this lasts, but I'm going to enjoy it while I can.
Yeah, Tyler, I think you're right. And when you look at guys like Soto, I think with relievers, it's really tough to judge them just based on their overall numbers because they come in once or twice and get blown up, and their numbers are going to be a wreck all season. Now, when the numbers are good, somebody just threw up Kirkering's numbers here, then we absolutely want to judge them on that. And Kirkering's been fantastic. I mean, the young guys that you really want to see progress from, right? Kirkering, Rojas, guys who really are going to matter in the postseason. You're seeing really good stuff from them. Kirkering's numbers. Rojas laid down that beautiful bunt today. He went down to the minors, didn't sulk, and just did what he needed to do. Hit well down there, came right back up, and he was safe at second base, by the way, earlier today.
I still think he was safe also. He definitely was safe. The oven mitt was there, but that's exactly it. You look at someone like Johan Rojas, a great example, because I know we're talking so much about the culture of this team. Gets sent down to the minors, does phenomenal, and then because of injuries is called right back up. What was it, a week it ended up that he was down there? Not even. That's something, had he gone down there and woe is me and been frustrated and whatever else, he wouldn't have been ready, but he went down there and performed. And literally from game 1 in the minors, he was hitting, like getting some really good at bats, making great contact. His swing looked good. And I remember seeing people on Twitter even like, wow, you can already see the minor, pun intended, the minor change in his game and his at bats. And since he's been called back up, he's done well. I mean, he's given you enough. And you don't expect him to be someone that's hitting, top RBIs and home runs and doubles or anything like that. But if he can lay down a bunt like that, if he can get you at least, good at bats, steal a bag, on top of the defensive plays that he can make, that's all you need from him. That's all you expect from him. Orion's another young guy that's showing well. So when you look at, you have to separate like bigger picture, what's really going to help this team thrive. And you're going to need the innings eaters, a Gregory Soto to have 9 straight innings, 9 straight outings, scoreless. Fantastic. You're eating innings and you're not giving up runs. That's going to help this team big, down the line. So a lot of positives to take away as we button up the game tonight, guys. Anything else that you positive, negative thoughts, takeaways? Because of course we're back tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. to talk more about the matchup of Zach versus Shota. But anything else on tonight's game from either of you?
One thing I wanted to hit on was, not from the Phillies game, but the White Sox. I don't know if you caught the clip of Luis Robert Jr. not making the throw home on the game-ending sac fly. He was pretty shallow. I I don't know. I wish Jamie was here to defend his guy on that one, because if we're talking about, losing Painter or Miller in a trade, these aren't things you live to see. And there was a play the other day, the ball just popped out. I was glad. Now, this is sample size and small stuff, and I don't want to get carried away just off of one or two plays. But we talk so much about the chemistry and everybody playing so hard and how much we love that. Just if they do make a blockbuster, let's just be sure about them. Is my plea to the Phillies organization before they start.
My only, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here for you, because my only thing with like a Luis Robert with the White Sox, you're with the White Sox.
Right.
Look at what the Phillies have been able to get out of Michael Mercado, Spencer Turnbull, David Dahl. These are guys you got for cheap from other organizations, and how well they've been able to play. And they don't have nearly the talent of a Luis Robert. I think if you're able to get him out of that sinking ship, get him off the Titanic, and bring him to Philly, I think he's going to thrive in this clubhouse. A guy like him probably is really looking for, the right culture, a winning team, and an opportunity to just be able to go out and play. And I would imagine that if he came here, they'd be able to bring the best out of him, which on top of the numbers he already has is a scary sight to think of. So yes, I've been a little bit worried because I've been seeing so much more from Luis Robert, and people have been like good or bad posting about him a lot more, but I would be all in for him joining the Phillies because I feel like they could trade without, I don't think they'd have to lose Andrew Painter. I think they would lose probably like a Justin Crawford or something like that. But the trade-off is Luis is 25, 26, and you could get him and you're building for the future. He's a guy that you're still going to have for the future.
Yeah, that's not a rental. It's definitely a great point. I do think guys come in here and seem to perform better for the most part. Not all of them, but for the most part, they do seem to buy into a winning culture helps everybody. I'm sure it's very hard to play for the White Sox right now, and maybe he's checked out there. I couldn't blame him, but yeah, and if you could do it for Crawford, I would probably do that. I mean, you're getting this incredible player under team control for a while. A young guy, I could do it. But if we're talking about Painter or Miller, which I do think, just because there's so few sellers, I don't know if Crawford would get it done as like the centerpiece of a deal. But I guess we'll see.
That's a tough part. I know Jonathan Might's bringing up Jazz Chisholm as well. Jazz Chisholm loves the Fanatic. I think he was kind of, in my opinion, he was flirting a little bit with the Phillies with his interactions with the Fanatic of wanting to be here. But there are some really good names out there. It's just a matter of who would you have to lose to get them, and is it worth it? I think if it's a young player that's 25, 26, that's in their prime, that's ready now, I'd be all for losing some prospects if it meant helping this team win now and be able to still win for the future because they're still young.
Do you worry about the injury history, Renee?
Jazz specifically?
No, with Robert.
I do. I don't love that either. That makes me nervous. I will say that it could be the caveat going back to being with the White Sox and overextended. Here, you'd have options where if he needs a day off or something, he could get that. Also, just in general, they wouldn't need as much from him. So I do feel like with Luis Robert, with the right, knock on wood, the Phillies have done a really good job of keeping guys healthy. I know we're in the midst of them missing their three big names, but I think that they'd be able to manage him a little bit better than what Chicago's doing right now. I don't know, Tyler, I don't know your thoughts.
I think you always play injuries into it. Like I'm a big believer in, I think that there's a difference between, I don't like injury prone. I don't like that term. I don't think that it's a fair term to use because, unless you have an injury that is supplanted by another injury, like if I break my hand and then I break my foot, that doesn't make me injury prone. That just means I had two injuries. You know what I mean? Like they're not related for the most part. So I think that it's unfair to a lot of times to call somebody an injury prone type of player. But of course you are going to monitor a guy who is going to command 3 or 4 top prospects and has only played two, you could call it 2 full seasons because the COVID shortened year, he did play a full season, but 1 full 162 game season over the course of his career. I get the hesitation. I have been I've been so back and forth on the acquisition of Robert specifically. The merits are there. I said this to you guys the other day, like, you know exactly what you're getting with Luis Robert. You're getting grown man strength, power to all fields, a plus defender, good base runner, a guy who strikes out a ton, has a really ugly plate approach at times, and has often been injured in his career. Like, there's no mystery to Luis Robert.
Yeah. And I do know, like, I know Barbara Carroll's bringing up the fact that he has missed half the season. The injuries, as you asked, John, are the concern for him. But knowing you have a Brandon Marsh, and I don't know what they would lose. A Johan Rojas might be someone that you lose. I have no idea. But knowing they do have versatility and depth, I think could absolutely help a Luis Robert. That, again, he can get days off. He can get, or even just have days where he doesn't have to do as much. With the White Sox who are struggling and not good, there's just a little bit more mental pressure as well as physical. And I think being somewhere where you're happy, you have there's great chemistry, you're winning, you're in a great clubhouse, you have a chance to like refresh and be off. Like, think about when you get that job that you love versus like the job that you are dragging through every day. Like, I feel like the injuries for him could be manageable. It always scares me to see a guy that, especially this young, is picking up this many knocks, but it might be him at a young age. Also, I'm gonna flip it, not knowing how to be a professional athlete and needing the veterans that can help him be better at managing his routine, his recovery, and all that. Because we do see that often with athletes. They need time to learn how to be a pro and how do you juggle 162 games in a season? How do you juggle not having days off and things like that? So it doesn't have to be Luis Robert, but I hope that they do find somebody that can come in, be ready now as a young, in their prime piece to help this group out. But it does get more exciting this week, guys, because, of course, in addition to Independence Day, tomorrow we have a great pitching matchup. Zach Wheeler versus Shota Imanaga. You've got Shota, who's got a 7-2 record on the season, a 3.07 ERA, and 84 strikeouts, going up against our ace, Zach Wheeler, with his 9-4 record, a 2.73 ERA, and 112 strikeouts. It's two of the hottest pitchers in the game. It's going to be some great weather. And I know, as people are mentioning, it's really nice in Chicago. So it's going to be great to have these two show down. I wish we can get a sense of what it looks like in Chicago. If only we had somebody that could join us on the show to be able to share some insight. Bum, bum, bum. Oh, wow. Look at that. Right on you. And it's a live look in Chicago with Trea Turner.
With Trea Turner. What's going on, Trea?
Yeah, I figured I'd go with the guy of the night. Hello. The weather is absolutely baseball perfect here in Chicago.
Talk us through it. Like, what's Wrigley Field like? What's the excitement? You got to be there for the win. People were talking about you on the show. There was some shade thrown your way because we talked about split series and Luis Robert. What's going on, JB? Live from Chicago.
Oh, let me go horizontal so I don't look as bad. There we go.
There you go.
Look at that. You're a pro. It's
Yeah.
like you're paid to do this.
So, guys, that is Wrigley Field. And let me just tell you, Wrigleyville, the neighborhood surrounding Wrigley, is what every baseball stadium should be. It is absolutely awesome. There's, 175 bars within a 8-block radius. There's a turf field. There's a family-friendly area with big screens outside the stadium. Wrigleyville is just absolutely the coolest. And I do have a sense of, like, I don't know. I don't want to say, like, the Phillies should have a downtown stadium, but I do have a sense of, like, damn, Citizens Bank Park in stadium, I don't think you can beat it. But, like, out of the stadium, like, this is cool as hell. I mean, you see the cars going behind me. This place is packed. The stadium was packed tonight. Wrigleyville is awesome. It's a must-do baseball fan trip here in Chicago.
Jamie, do you want to get rid of the ivy at Wrigley Field? I've got the young people on the show telling me the ivy has to go.
No.
You losers, you TikTok teens.
The ivy can stay. The brick wall needs to go.
Right. It's the brick wall behind the ivy.
Okay, I'm okay with that. But, like, the ivy has to stay. Like, I saw Nick Castellanos. He kind of hammed it up a little bit with the eye. Like, oh, the ivy in the eye. I'm like, all right, just don't crush your head against the brick wall.
Okay, here's another very important question for you because you're on the streets right now in Chicago.
Yeah.
If a ball comes flying out of the ballpark and lands nearby that it was hit as a home run, would you throw it back?
No, never. I don't know how many baseball games I've been to in my life. I would guess over 250. I've never caught a foul ball, a home run, anything. There's no chance I am throwing a ball back.
439-foot home run by Trea Turner that landed in the laps of somebody on the street and they threw it back.
So one of the unique things about Wrigley here is that the bleachers don't connect to the rest of the stadium. So I was sitting on the third base line, like 2 sections up from the field. I had a perfect view of the home run and it being gone. It went right over the mesh in left field there. And then you saw somebody throw it back up. So it did leave the park to my knowledge. And somebody threw it back up and then somebody threw it on the field. So good work by the Cubs fans. I'll give them that one.
I guess so.
Yeah,
All right.
congratulations to them.
So,
But got the win.
We were just talking about your boy. I think were your ears ringing a little bit when we were talking
John,
about Robert?
I need to talk to John here.
Your Spidey sense went off?
I waited specifically for Jamie to be on this show to say what I was about to say when we were talking about the Luis Robert conversation. I've come to the decision that I know who Luis Robert's going to play for.
Hell yeah.
At the end of July.
Don't do it to me, Tyler.
And it's not the Phillies.
Why would you do that?
Oh, where do you think he's going?
Tyler, what are you doing? I thought we were going to talk about his non-throw to home plate. What are you doing? You're sandbagging me.
I think he's going to be an Oriole at the end of the month.
Oh, don't do that to me, Tyler.
I'm sorry.
Why? He's needed here.
Here's the thing.
He's needed there. Cedric Mullins can't hit.
Johan Rojas can't hit.
I think Bob's mentioned in the chat, we need to start a smear campaign, if nothing else, to drive his price down. So we can't be here talking him up.
That's why I thought you were leading me into his non-throw to home tonight. For some reason, with the game on the line and 2 outs, like he's in. He's in. He's tanking. He wants to be here.
Out.
He's doing his part to tank his value and preserving his arm for the playoffs.
I like it.
Yeah, I guess.
You know what I mean?
This guy's perfect. Working smarter, not harder. So you have a chance, Jamie. Of course, they're not home right now. They're in Cleveland. And then they're going to be down in Miami. But you're in Chicago. I know Frank has a really good idea of you grabbing Luis Robert, bring him on the plane with you. I think you have to find a way. You got to find out where he lives or something. Like you're out on the
I already have his address.
That's not terrifying at all.
Have you guys seen Celtic Pride? I got his address. Don't worry about that. He's coming back with me.
Drop like a care package, like something. Yeah. It's like you're out there. Make it happen.
I sent him some deep dish to belly up to him a little bit.
Right.
Man to man. Okay. But I know where he lives. He's coming home with us. By the way,
some of those plays aren't going to cut it on the Phillies. That'll work on the White Sox.
Yeah.
For the Phillies, you got to try to get the guy out at the end of the game.
Did it come through on TV, the Phillies chance?
No.
There was a very visible Phillies fans presence.
Okay, there was a decent chant going on.
I think NBC Sports.
Yeah,
NBC Sports Philly was having some boom mic problems today. I think their crowd mics were a little weird because they were fluctuating the entire game.
Yeah.
I think it usually is pretty palpable. I don't think we picked it up today.
Okay, so I wasn't supposed to come to today's game. What me and Addie and my cousins did was have a couple beers, and then we went, let's check first pitch opening. Ticket prices. So we waited until midway through the first. We hopped on the Game Time app. Have you guys heard about this app? You heard about the Game Time app? It's pretty great.
I've never heard about the Game Time app.
Tell me more. I'm interested.
Yeah. So we hopped on the Game Time app. We used code PHLY. I hear that gets you $20 off. And then we bought tickets. And what was great was we used the seat image view. And we want to be there. So we ended up in section 205. Middle of the first inning. Tomorrow is the actual game we had tickets for. Tonight was kind of a spur of the moment we're staying in Wrigleyville, kind of have to go to the game. The stadium's right there. I can see it. So Game Time app. It's great.
Wow. I love that you're able to use the Game Time app for those last-minute ticket deals to be able to get in quickly and find your seat and have some fun. Wow. It took the stress out of buying tickets. I'm so happy for you.
It's great.
Two
You got
taps,
to
two taps, and you're
enjoy
all
the game with a cold, crisp Miller Lite.
Oh, I did. I had tons of Miller Lites tonight. It was great.
You're just working with all of our sponsors today. Business trip. It's a business
But
trip.
seriously, if anybody's ever considering a trip to Wrigley to see the Phillies, I cannot recommend it enough. This place, Wrigleyville, is absolute. Like St. Louis can go F itself. This is baseball heaven. It's really cool out here.
Okay. There it is. You heard it first from James Edward Lynch. Lastly, though, Jamie, because we are getting ready to wrap up since we're rolling here.
Kick me off. Yeah, please.
No. Last thing I want to get your thoughts.
I want to go home.
I'm going to meet some buddies at the Cubby Bar.
Okay, I was gonna. Okay, go do it. Go have fun at the Cubby Bar, and we'll talk more.
No. We can do the last.
Michael Mercado and Trea Turner.
Trea Turner was spectacular tonight. So my cousin bet over 9.5, and Jose Ruiz comes in. 2 men get on. I go, dude, this is perfect. Ruiz is gonna throw a meatball up. You'll hit your over. Phillies close it out and bring in a real pitcher, and all is well. And it literally played out exactly like that. Thank you, Trea Turner, for padding the stats today and making that a low leverage situation.
Well, it sounds like you are all around winning on your day one of your trip. I know they're asking for Rex. We'll have to wait to come back and
I'll give a full rundown. Yeah.
Awesome. You'll have all the Wrigleyville recommendations for everybody, Cleveland, John, and everybody else that's curious, because this is only day one of your trip. You need more time to soak it all in. Tomorrow is Zach Wheeler versus Shota Imanaga. You're going to get a great, beautiful day of baseball. So, Jamie, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good to see you guys. Go Phils.
See ya.
All right.
Phils. Thanks, Jamie.
All right, guys. Well, that'll do it for us here. We are way over time. It's been fun hanging, though. Look, victory shows are always that much more enjoyable when you have a chance to talk through some great baseball. So we had Jamie live at Wrigleyville, who's actually off the clock today. He's supposed to be on PTO, just at the game as a fan. But hey, he wanted to join on and show us a little bit of Wrigleyville. So for everybody in the chat, thank you so much for tuning in and hanging with us. We will be live tomorrow, 11 a.m., which means less than 12 hours from now. We'll be back. We'll be talking more about the game, and we'll also be looking ahead
the
to
exact same thing.
Exact same show tomorrow. We'll be talking through some more about the Phillies and recapping as we start to look ahead to the rest of the series. Because we are off on the 4th of July. We'll all be celebrating, enjoying fireworks and burgers and hot dogs and all the Miller Lites and beaches and things. So see you guys tomorrow, 11 a.m. for John, Tyler, Jamie, myself, Renee. Thanks so much for tuning in to PHLY Phillies podcast. We'll see you bright and early for more live at 11 a.m. Bye.
We all silly like the man.